Welcome to Ryan Waters Sports Drive.
Hi, this is Ben Rutledge, 2008 Olympic gold medalist.
Hi, this is Adriano Belli of the Toronto Argonauts. I just retired crushing quarterbacks, but I'm here with Ryan Waters.
Hey, it's Ryan Huska. You're listening to the Ryan Waters Sports Drive.
Now, here's your host, Ryan Waters.
Ryan Waters Sports Drive is back on. Time for a little football fantasy talk. Our fantasy football freak Luke on the line, courtesy of the on-air hotline. Luke, let's talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost again Monday night to the Bears. If you have an Eagle player on your roster, on your fantasy team, are you concerned, or are you starting to worry maybe dumping him?
Definitely not concerned. I mean, the beauty of the fantasy football is that individual performance is better over team performance. So even though the Eagles have a terrible record right now, they've got some pretty solid performers on their team, actually. If you look at their running back, LaShawn McCoy, he is the top running back for points in terms of probably in most leagues, at least in mine. And then Michael Vick is, I think, 7 or 8 in terms of points. So you've got two players there, right there on the same team that's not doing well, but they are definitely racking up the points. And then one of their wide receivers, Jeremy Maclin, the guy who fell last night on that last play of the game there, is also a top 10 wide receiver. So a lot of people probably would have assumed that Deshaun Jackson would have been a better pick for an Eagles wide receiver, but he draws a lot of the double coverage and leaving open Jeremy Maclin. So he's doing really well. And then I think their tight end, Brent Selleck. Well, I mean, you don't expect too much from tight ends. He's a solid play any week in any league from the tight end position. So when you look at the Eagles, lots of points are being racked up by them. I think even their defense is still one of the top in the leagues in terms of sacks, interceptions, turnovers. They give up a lot of points, but they do rack up the fantasy points. So that's the beauty of fantasy. If you're an Eagles fan, you might not like the record too much, but if you've picked a few Eagles on your fantasy team, at least the right ones, you should be having a pretty good year.
You mentioned tight ends not doing much. What about Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates, the two top tight ends in the league? Are they racking up numbers, and would it be good if you're looking to trade up? Can you get a tight end, and would that be a good move?
You have a couple surprises, actually, this year at tight end at the top. The first one would be Jimmy Graham, the tight end from New Orleans, who actually has a really interesting background story. If you're bored and at work and want to do some research, look up the story of his life. But he's probably on the Saints the top tight end in the league right now, followed by Rob Gronkowski of the New England Patriots. So those were two probably surprises from the tight end position. When you look at the stalwarts there, you got Jason Witten, Tony Gonzalez. They're probably a top 5 tight ends in most leagues. So they probably score about a touchdown every 2 games or so and are good for 50, 60, 70 yards. With regards to Antonio Gates, he's missed a lot of weeks. So he just came back this past week. Well, he's played the last 2 weeks, and he's put up some good numbers in those weeks. But if you had him earlier in the year, you might be disappointed with what you've seen from him. But tight end is a position of where unless you're going to get one of the top few guys, they're easy to pick up with on your waiver wire, and you can drop and add a guy every week just depending upon what they're doing. So a tight end I'm not too concerned about for points. They're usually 7-8 points a week. If you can get out of them, then you're doing all right.
You mentioned the Patriots. Tom Brady, his numbers may not be where they were after week 1 and 2. He's thrown a few more interceptions, something that we didn't see a lot of last year. Is he still one of the top guys? Aaron Rodgers has got to be the top quarterback. Is Tom Brady near the top or at the top?
I would say Aaron Rodgers would be the top point getter, period, in most leagues. So that's for any position. So he's definitely the top QB, and that's because he's a dual threat. He can throw the ball. He throws for tons of touchdowns. He runs for touchdowns. He throws touchdowns while running. So he does it all. It's it's impressive to watch him play. The next best QB, and this again goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier with Philadelphia, Cam Newton. Cam Newton is probably going to be about the second-rated QB in most leagues because, again, he runs for touchdowns, he throws for touchdowns, and he throws for big yards, but he's on a losing team. So Tom Brady, my guess would be in a top 3 or 4 or 5 QB in the leagues. And in most leagues, I think you're going to see your top 5 or 6 look like Rodgers, Newton, Breeze, Brady, and maybe a Stafford, Vic, or Roethlisberger would come in after that. So the guy we've been following all year, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's had an off few weeks, but he's not lagging too far behind those guys, which is all right. So we'll see what happens this week when Buffalo waltzes into Dallas, and maybe Fitzpatrick can put up a few points. Obviously, they played the Jets this past week, so the Jets are known for their stout pass defense, so Fitzpatrick had a rough week.
And really quickly, who's not showing up? Chris Johnson still with the Titans has got to be on that list.
Yeah, Chris Johnson is probably the biggest no-show this year. I mean, it's tough to say because there have been some injuries as well. Like a big hurt would have been Jamal Charles. He would have been a first-round pick, but he got injured in the first or second game of the year. But the biggest guy who's probably killing teams is either Chris Johnson or Peyton Hillis, who's the Cleveland running back. Might be due to the Madden curse, the infamous Madden curse. Peyton Hillis was on the cover of the Madden game this year, and it seems like anybody who makes the cover of that game ends up being injured and missing a lot of the season. So those are two guys where I'd be disappointed in if I had picked them. But yeah, you can't beat the Chris Johnson failure. That's epic.
All right, he's the Sports Drive's fantasy football freak, Luke. Luke, thanks for doing this. Good luck in Week 10.
No problem. See you around.
This has been the Ryan Waters Sports Drive.